Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on what part of the country you're located at. And I actually forgot to say good morning, or maybe I did, but that's fine. Let's just keep moving. Depending on what part of the country you're located at, this is Jasir Jamal from Texas 1031 Exchanges, located down south of the country, of course. So today, what I want to go ahead and do is talk about whether you can do a 1031 exchange on your second/vacation home. So we're going to go into some details over here, so buckle up for that. But before I start this video, I just want to let you folks know that everything I say in these videos, in the videos I have already done, and the videos I intend on publishing in the near future, including this one, everything I say in these videos is not legal or investment advice in any way, shape, or form. This is only meant for educational, entertainment, and informational purposes only. Please do not consider or construe anything I say in these videos as legal or investment advice. Please, whenever you folks are making a big investment decision, whether it be with regards to 1031 exchanges or not with regards to 1031 exchanges, you should always do your own due diligence and always consult with your own CPA, your own tax attorney, or your own estate attorney before making any big investment decisions, because investments have risks. You're never guaranteed to make money. Sometimes you might even lose money, which is why it's always best and it's always necessary for you to do your own due diligence and consult with your tax attorney, your CPA, or your estate attorney before you make a big investment decision. Now, with that being said, let's get into the video. So, of course, you have heard me say by far on the channel that you cannot do a 1031 exchange with your primary residence, aka the house you live in. But what about that second home or that vacation home you have out on Miami Beach or in Galveston or I don't know, in Newport Beach, wherever, or Manhattan Beach, whatever you want to call it? Can you do a 1031 exchange over there? Because you don't live there. And chances are you probably just go there maybe for a couple of days throughout the year to blow off some steam. But you probably have a tenant over there who's paying you throughout the years, and then of course when you're there, the tenant's not there. I get it. So what happened was back in 2008 or so, the IRS came out with Revenue Procedure 2008 through 16. And what happened over here was that the IRS realized that, look, people do have vacation homes, but they don't necessarily live in there. Sure, they may spend some personal time there, but they're not there all the time. So therefore, they should be allowed to do a 1031 exchange. And in this case, when this revenue procedure came out, the IRS had these guidelines right over here that your second home needs to be in compliance with in order for it to be eligible to do a 1031 exchange. So these are not all the guidelines. Again, always talk to your CPA and your tax attorney about it, but these are like the main guidelines that definitely need to be met in order for the 1031 exchange to happen. So without further ado, let's get into them. So the first guideline says the relinquished/vacation/second home has been held by you for at least 2 years prior to performing the exchange. You folks know the drill. I mean, of course, you can only do a 1031 exchange on your investment property. And in order to show to the IRS that this is a property you've held primarily for investment, and in this case for a little bit of vacation for yourself, you still have to hold it for at least 2 years before you decide to do the 1031 exchange. And of course, within those 2 years, let's come over to the second point. Within each of the 2-year periods, the property was rented out to an unrelated tenant at fair rental value for at least 2 weeks. In year 1, it should have been rented out for at least 2 weeks. In year 2, it should have been rented out for at least 2 weeks as well. So what does this mean? So within that 2-year period that you've held this vacation/a second home for, in year 1, just make sure you have the property rented out to an unrelated tenant at fair rental value. Let's address this real quick. The tenant, it is preferred that the tenant is unrelated and he or she is not related to you in any way, shape, or form. But here's the thing, even if they are related, I still think it can go through. But here's the most important part about that, whether they're related or not. The property has to be rented to them at fair rental value. So whatever an appraiser would come out and say that, hey, this property in this area would be rented out for this much, that's how much you have to rent the property out to, whether the tenant is related to you or not. But then again, I would definitely recommend, and your CPA would definitely recommend, you rent the property out to somebody who is not related to you in any way, shape, or form. But then again, the most important thing is make sure you charge them fair rental value and no discounts or anything like that, So, of course, you have that. You need to have it rented out to them for at least 2 weeks in year 1. And then in year 2, it needs to be at least 2 weeks as well. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be 2 weeks. It can always be more than that. But then again, it needs to be at least 2 weeks per year. and you have to show that on your taxes that it was rented out for this much time, and we'll get into that in just a few moments. Now, what's the third thing? Your personal use of the property was not more than 2 weeks in each year within the 2-year period, or it did not exceed 10% of the time the property was rented out to an unrelated tenant. So this talks about, okay, when you're going out there to your vacation slash second home for the Memorial Day weekend or for spring break or just to go blow off some steam after a hard week of working, then basically, here's the thing. You cannot be at that, your personal use on that property cannot be more than 2 weeks within the 2-year period. So in year 1, it cannot be more than 2 weeks, and in year 2, you cannot spend more than 2 weeks up there. It has to be rented out for the rest of the time. But if the 2-week period doesn't work, if you end up spending more time over there, more than 2 weeks, it's fine. But then here's the thing. Your personal use should not exceed 10% of the time the property was rented out to the tenant. So the tenant over here that we were talking about, let's say the property was rented out to them for, I don't know, like 100 days. No problem. You cannot spend more than 10% of 100 days at the property. So what is 10% of 100? That's like 10 days. So in that case, if you rented the property out for 100 days in year 1, you cannot spend more than 10 days for your personal time up there. So there you go. But then of course, if this number was 200, then it would be 20 days. And then if it was 300, then it could have been 30 days. And there you go. You folks kind of get the gist of it from there. So that's pretty much how it goes. And then of course, the last rule is the same rules for personal use and tenant use mentioned above apply to the replacement vacation slash second home. So look, if your second slash vacation home meets all these guidelines that we just spoke about, you're able to do a 1031 exchange on it without any issues. And there's no problem with that. But then of course, when you buy the replacement vacation slash second home, it's still going to be most likely your vacation slash second home. Or I mean, it's going to be dependent on you if you decide to just fully have it rented out and you never spend time up there. But if you designate it as your second slash vacation home, that replacement one is still going to have to meet these requirements in order for you to do another 1031 exchange on it, you know? Have it rented out for at least, have it held in your hands for at least 2 years. Within those 2-year periods, have it rented out for at least 2 weeks per year or at least more. Personal use cannot be more than 2 weeks or it cannot exceed 10% of the time the property was rented out to. And there you have it, folks. These are like the more important rules. And if your property is in compliance with these rules, you should be good to go. So that's it for me today, folks. If you folks have any more questions regarding this topic, please, oh please, feel free to reach out to me. I will be happy to answer your questions. I hope this video was nice and valuable towards you guys, but I will see y'all in the next video. And until then, you guys take care.